Welcome to the Cheer Athlete. Today we're going to talk about rotation in the body. We know that cheerleaders need to rotate when they are pulling fulls or they're doing full downs or full ups. All that twisting happens. But did you know that you actually need to have good control of your trunk rotation and you need good rotation through your hips and your feet if you're a base or if you're a flyer and you want to be pulling a heel stretch or a scale or a needle. You need rotation in your body, and that's partly is a linchpin, and it's the main thing that we need to really think about. And as we look at look at how our cheerleaders are moving. So, if you don't know me, I'm Laura Turner. I'm a physical therapist and a strength coach, and I help cheerleaders and their parents and coaches navigate movement through uh, in cheerleading and help you to feel better, move better, and perform better at the same time. So, rotation. If you are struggling, like I always encourage people do a movement screen. Coaches, you need to learn, you should include a movement screen in your tryout process. I'm saying it. If you don't know how to do it, you can reach out. I'm happy to teach you. But we need to see, can we move and do we move well? And do we have enough movement to do what we're asking to do? So today we're going to talk rotation. Now we can look at this. We should look at this in standing. And how does a body rotate? Can it turn left? Can it turn right? Do they lead with their head? Can they rotate their hips one way and their shoulders another way while keeping their head forward and vice versa? And is it equal? There's no pain with motion. Don't worry. Don't stress it. You don't have to pull somebody out because they can't move well yet. But if somebody has pain, send them to get assessed so that they can take care of that. Now, if they don't have pain, let's figure out what's not moving right. We should have relatively equal movement in all our joints on either side. There are some limitations, but they should be within a close proximity. And if not, then we need to do some work to improve that motion. So now when we look at trunk rotation, it's not just the trunk that's rotating. The head has to rotate on the trunk, pelvis has to rotate as well. And the pelvis and the hip have to be able to rotate in isolation. So hip rotation may be affected, hip rotation as if you're pulling up into a heel stretch, that hip has to turn out inside the pelvis, which is turning in. And then the lower leg, as we're grabbing the foot, needs to turn in as well. So we need those all to connect, and we need that stability to be able to reach and counterbalance the rotation that's happening when we're up in the air. These are this is how I look at people and connecting those dots. Like if they don't have enough stability in their shoulder blade to rotate in, are they able to actually grab their foot? And that might be coming because their hip isn't moving well enough. It's a lot to talk about in a podcast when it's not necessarily something that you're doing on a daily basis. But when you start to look at movement over and over again and you put all those pieces together, you see, just because they're not being able to externally rotate for a jump and a toe touch, that might not be coming from their actual hip. And the more you stretch their hip, the tighter it gets because that's actually gripping and holding on because the lumbar spine isn't strong enough to stabilize and hold the pelvis in the position that it needs to be able to lift and rotate the hips. There's a lot of muscles that are involved in that. Maybe the hip flexors are the psoas, which will flex and externally rotate the hip, along with the TFL. Maybe they're fighting each other. The TFL is on the side of the hip, and that abducts brings the leg away from the body and turns the hip in while flexing. So they're kind of functional opposite muscles. And if they're fighting against each other, they're not able to work together to create that motion. We need to have all of that put together. In a toe touch, they may actually need to stretch their hip internal rotator to be able to allow them to have better strength getting into external rotation. Or it might be that they need to strengthen their obliques. The easiest way is those crossbody crunches. I don't love them because we don't walk around doing that. I'd rather have you see you doing some chops and some lifts and keeping things still and creating that isometric or some ID pendulums where you're taking your body actively, moving that in a standing functional way. But if we need to, let's work those obliques. But Are you strengthening your obliques, but really you need hip rotation? You can go on a cycle. And hopefully you're getting my point here that we can't just look at the joint in one muscle group. Stretching your hips is not always the answer. Sometimes it is, but it's not always the answer. So we need to break that down. We need to see where is the limitation. If you're not sure, reach out to me. I do movement screenings. I can look and see how are you moving. If you want to set up an appointment to look at this, and I'll travel to you, or you can come to me. We can make that all happen. But I can refer you to somebody that's in your area as well. There's a lot of people that will look at the whole body and see why is there a limitation. And coaches, start to include some movement screening in, see what is happening from the head down. Can your athletes actually move the way that you want them to, or is there a reason? This, we so ballerinas see this all the time. Like they're trying to get more turnout, but their hips actually cannot physically. They were born that way. There's nothing they can do about it. Their hips don't have that base to be able to turn out. And cheerleaders can be the same. They don't have to be. They may not have that motion to be able to do that. And if we crank on it, it creates labral issues. It creates knee issues. It can create low back pain. Um, all the way up and down the chain. Someone might have neck pain because their foot and their lower leg isn't moving enough. So we have to look at the whole body. We have to see like why are things not moving, and if they structurally can't do it, don't force it. Use what they have. You can see some really pretty uh, arabesques and heel stretches that are super solid, that are not cranked, and they don't have necessarily that hyperextension. But those actually look so much better in the air than something that's like super flexible and way over pulled and they can't control it. So flexibility isn't just the muscle, it's the joint. And we need to know, do they have that? And do they have the available joint motion and space? And are they structurally that way? Or is it something that actually needs a little work because they haven't gone that way in a long time? Or they had a growth spurt and things have shifted and changed. There's a lot more to it than just get in and stretch. And there's a lot more to hip rotation than just looking at the hip. We need to look at trunk rotation and various planes of motion and break that down. If the trunk doesn't move right, then we go and we look, can the trunk move without your lower back? Can the trunk move, or can the hips move? And is that limiting the rotation? Or is it your lower leg? Or is it your shoulder? So there's a lot of pieces to put together. We have to be able to isolate the pelvis, and the pelvis has to move one way while the trunk moves the other. And if we don't have that isolation and that segmental rotation, then that creates a different stability and mobility dysfunction. And this all will flow together. I hope that was helpful. Um, as you can see, I can get very passionate about movement and how it all connects together. I think it's really important to know how the body moves. I think it's super important for your athletes and yourselves, if you're looking at how you're moving, to know what it feels like in your body. Put yourself into that position and know, is it good or is it bad? The more information when we slow ourselves down, we can kind of feel through the movement and say, like, oh, I like that. I want to move more in that direction. Or I don't like that. I need to stop and avoid that. It gives us a lot of feedback and it will help prevent a lot of injuries. And that's what this is all about. Prevent those injuries, improve performance, keep cheerleaders cheering for a long time, and being happy and healthy while they do it. Parents and coaches, you got to move well too. So get yourselves checked, check on your own range of motion, do the mobility screen on yourself so that when you're sitting at competitions and you're driving for a long time and you get out of the car and you're like, oh, what does things hurt? You have a better idea. And then you can create some movement patterns that you can do while you're at competitions as well. I did an Instagram post on that yesterday, actually. So today is Sunday, November 17th. If you're watching this, somewhere in there. And this is 2024. I'm going to post a video for some hip, my posting me some more hip exercises. So stay tuned for that as well. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can always email me, laura@movebetterllc.com. If you're not on my email list, sign up for that because I send out other exercises through the week as well and provide other information in there. And I do have some Black Friday specials coming up that are helpful, some strength and conditioning programs that can help your cheerleaders move better and feel better. So stay tuned for those. And follow me on all the socials, and all that stuff will be in the links below. Today is regionals in Massachusetts, and I'm wishing all my Central Mass teams that I used to compete against, including Algonquin, which was my team. Good luck. I was going to try and be there today, and life happened, and I didn't make it there. So I'm wishing you all luck, and to all the teams in Massachusetts, same thing. I wish you guys luck, and hopefully I'll see you at States next week. Either way, go crush it. If you guys are starting your showcases, I hope you're having fun. Make it a good day. Enjoy the time together. Go out there and get your performance jitters out. Like, I think those showcases are so cool. It's a great way to really show yourself and showcase. And as competition season for All Stars continues to ramp up, and as football cheerleaders transition into basketball cheerleading, enjoy the ride and just have fun in the moment, because this is what we enjoy doing. Have a great week, everybody. Don't forget, when in doubt, breathe it out. Take life one step at a time. You can do anything you put your mind to, including improving your rotation from the ground up. And as my friend Drew Kelleher used to say, you're responsible for your own vibes. So go get the day.